Okay, so from the previous video, we just calculated the rated currents. Next, we go to the next part of the question, which is determine the per unit transformer impedance using a system base of 100 MVA and 13.8 kV on the primary distribution side of the transformer. So now, in order to calculate this per unit impedance at 100 MVA, we use this formula. ZPU new is equals to ZPU old multiplied by S base new over S base old. Now, the original version of this formula has this V base squared old over V base squared new. Now, what this formula simply implies is that if I have a per unit impedance, this is per unit impedance, this is rated MVA or apparent power complex power, and this is the base voltage. Now, these are the rated values. In fact, this one, definitely these are the rated values. Now, what this formula simply means is if ZPU new is my per unit impedance at the new base value, here S base new, which in the question would be 100 MVA, I can use my per unit impedance, the old per unit impedance I had, and the old base I was using to calculate for this new value. Now, the thing to note is this V base old and V base new refers to the 13.8 kilovolts in the question. But V base old and V base new are actually the same because we are not going to change the value for the voltage. So these two can cancel out of the formula so that you remain with something much simpler. And this is usually the case unless probably maybe otherwise stated. But maybe just look it up to confirm what I'm saying and be really sure. So in the question, your ZPU new would be your ZPU at 100 MVA. Your S base new is the 100 MVA itself, while your ZPU old is what you were given as your per unit impedance, which from the data was in percentage form as 8%, but we converted it to this 8% of 100 is simply 8% is simply 8 over 100, which is 0.08 per unit. So that's what you use. Now, that being said, the old value is taken to simply be the value at OA, which is 40 MVA. Now, this might actually be a convention, but it seems the OA rating is actually taken to be the old base, or at least the value of per unit impedance given is usually based on this particular value. So once this is understood, we can simply use this formula as follows. So Z per U per unit at 100 MVA will be ZPU new, which is equals to ZPU old multiplied by S base new over S base old so our ZP unit old is actually 0.08, which is from 8%, because 8% is simply 8 over 100, which gives us 0.08. Remember that? So we multiply this by the new base, which was given as 100 MVA. And we of course know that M is 10 to the power 6 because it's mega volt amps, over what we had, which was 40 MVA. Notice I said the S base owed, or the actual base at which this value was given, is the OA rating. There are so many different values in this question for MVA or for S base. There's 40, there's 50, there's 65, but the one you're supposed to use for this part of the question is the one given as your OA. So what you are going to have as your final answer is our handy calculator multiplied by 100 by 10 to the 6 over 40 by 10 to the 6. The 10 to the 6 is a bit unnecessary since it cancels out, but anyway, it's okay. So our new per unit impedance will be 0.2 per unit. Do not forget the units, please, people. So yeah, that concludes this part of the question. Next, we'll answer the final part of the question in the next video. Thank you so much. Yeah, so just to be clear, Z per unit new or at a base of 100 MVA is equals to 0.2 per unit.